Welcome to the first episode of Wasteland Weaponistics. This is a series about the lore of the weapons in the Fallout universe, which for most weapons is all speculation and kind of piecing things together, as Fallout actually has very little lore for each of its weapons. For the first episode, I thought we would cover the combat rifle. The combat rifle was introduced into Fallout's lore with Fallout 4. Other games that feature the combat rifle as of the time of making this video include just Fallout 76. However, the hunting rifle featured in Fallout 1 and 2 bears a very close resemblance to the combat rifle. The combat rifle is a modular design, being able to be modified with multiple barrel lengths, stocks, from wood stock to a more tactical style one. It's also able to have a variety of sights on it due to either the piece of Weaver or Picatinny rail on the top. I haven't decided which one it is. So the gun is chambered mostly in 45 ACP. However, it can be converted to 38 as well as 308 rounds. How it's able to accomplish this is unknown. There is also a unique variant chambered in 5.56. More on this later. The combat rifle shares its design with the Fallout 4 version of the combat shotgun. I believe these two were probably designed at the same time. Probably to get a military contract, but the rifle lost out to the R91 and the service rifle, due to most likely the US military switching from 308 to 5.56 for their standard infantry rifle. Since the rifle failed to get adopted as an infantry rifle, they would then set it up with a scope and enter it as a sniper rifle, since the military would still be using 308 rounds for their sniper rifles. This is seen with the Fallout Tactics sniper rifle and the sniper rifle that was used in Fallout 3 and New Vegas. The combat rifle's name changes to combat sniper rifle if you use any of these semi-auto receivers and put a scope on the gun. Then the gun failed again to get adopted by the military. Not wanting to go bankrupt, they hastily converted it to 45 ACP, hoping to sell it to police and private companies as well as civilians. They did this as cheaply and as fast as possible, using the same magazines they modified to work with 45 ACP, then cheaply converted the receiver and the operating system to work with 45. That's why the rifle had some rather crude welds on the left side around the charging handle. Why they would convert it to 45 ACP from a full power 308 round? Well, during the 50s and 60s in our timeline, police used a lot of 45 ACP guns, like a lot of leftover World War II Thompsons, grease guns, rising submachine guns, rising semi-auto carbines, as well as even newer guns like the Ingram Model 6 and Eagle carbine. You also have private companies that want their guards to be armed with something more than a pistol, but probably don't want their employees with a Thompson spraying away. One thing to note is that none of the military personnel in the pre-war segment are armed with a combat rifle, nor is anyone armed with one in the opening cinematic. I think this further enforces my ideas that this was never adopted by the Army. However, it could have been used by other branches of the military, like how the Marines in the Pacific Theater of World War II were armed with Johnson rifles instead of the standard M1 Garand. Or the many non-standard weapons Navy SEALs used in Vietnam, like Stoner 63s and G3s with special 30-round magazines. There are several unique versions of the combat rifle, 2 from Fallout 4 and 1 so far from Fallout 76. The 2 from Fallout 4 are the Overseer's Guardian and December's Child. The Overseer's Guardian is pretty much a combat rifle with the exception of it being able to fire 2 rounds at the same time, similar to a duplex round. It is obtained in Vault 81. I believe this further enforces the theory that these were sold mostly to security forces and not directly for military use. The other unique is in Far Harbor, called the December Child. December Child is a unique combat rifle that is chambered in 5.56. No other combat rifle in Fallout 4 can be chambered in 5.56. It's also said to have reduced weight, but it's not actually lighter. It is obtained from the Vim factory that was used by DEMA as a lab. Whether DEMA converted the gun to 5.56 or it was already converted, we will never know. One thing to note about this gun, the effect that lets it shoot 5.56 rounds is listed as M4 carbine in the game files. Not really important to the lore, but I thought it was kind of interesting. So, Fallout 76 at the time of me making this video has one unique combat rifle. It's called the Fixer. This one's kind of truly unique. It has a fully custom skin. The stocks and foregrip are green, as well as having a black coating over the rest of the gun. It is completely geared towards stealth, having the effects of making the user harder to detect, as well as making them move faster while in stealth. The green parts of the gun are most likely a reference to some of the early Cold War rifles like Colt 601s used by the Air Force, as well as the green G3s and Set-Me rifles. This gun most likely belonged to the character Wolf, introduced with the Sheepsquatch DLC. The only thing we know about Wolf is that he worked for the Bishi Company, and they had a part in the imposter Sheepsquatch. Again, we see this rifle used by a private company. Since we are talking about the combat rifle in Fallout 76, I should mention that the combat rifle in Fallout 76 cannot be converted to 308. What this means for the lore, I don't really know. We also see that when you put the prime receiver on it, it converts it to fire Ultrasight 44. I believe this is just a bug and it's meant to be Ultrasight 45 rounds, and the gun isn't actually made to fire any type of 44 rounds. Now, how a rifle can be chambered in a full power round, an intermediate round, 2 pistol rounds is very strange. I'm going to attempt to try and surmise how the gun works. There are many different firearm operating systems. I'm going to say the gun uses a type of gas piston, since it has a tube that goes under the barrel. Much like the line of Benelli R1 and MR1 rifles. So Benelli developed these rifles from their shotguns, which I thought was fitting because we also see a shotgun that's very similar to the combat rifle in Fallout 4 and in Fallout 76. So I'm going to guess that the bolt is probably a tri-lug bolt, like the MR1 or T2 leader rifles in real life, or it could be a multi-lug rotating bolt like AR-15 and AR-180 style guns. This is a bottom-mounted gas tube. I'm going to guess it is a tri-lug bolt like the MR1, since the MR1 also has a bottom-mounted gas tube, compared to the AR-15 based guns that usually have the gas tube on top of the barrel. So for the real-life inspiration of this, the modeler at Bethesda seems to have based a combat rifle by putting several different real-world guns into a single design. This is a somewhat common practice for the fantasy ballistic weapons in the Fallout universe. The gun seems to be a combination of the bar, the PPSH, and a little bit of a prototype from SIG called the MP46. The stock and the receiver are from the PPSH. The magazine and gas tube are from the bar. The magazine well seems to be from the MP46, but enlarged a bit to take the bar's magazine. All of these kind of form together to make the combat rifle. So if you disagree with anything in the video or want to add, feel free to tell me in the comment section. See you next episode.